Hello everyone, my name is DimitriusMac and welcome to the Week 13 and Week 14 recaps of my NFL Fantasy Wrath League, folks. Now there's a bunch to go over, of course, and we're going to get everything as well as playoff matchups and all of that good stuff. So without further ado, I'm not going to dilly-dally about anything. I'm just going to get into the cold, hard facts of what went down in the final weeks of our league. So what we're looking at here is, for me, and remember the last time I spoke to you guys on this subject matter, is a loss for me, a loss by a little over 2 points. So, what ended up happening? High scoring affairs from both sides. But what was truly devastating is not the fact that I lost by so little, and not even just the fact that I lost, period, and this made it harder for me, going forward. But we take a look at my team here. And you see on this side, you see performances from Mark Ingram and Phillip Rivers, and of course the Jaguars defense and Greg Zuerlein. Those are players on my team that I expected to perform. However, I barely got anything out of pretty much everybody else. Jamison Crowder was a huge letdown. You see Jack Doyle. I did end up making that switch for Jack Doyle at Jacksonville. And it ended up costing me everything. It seems like I did ended up costing me. You see performances just simply by the Seattle side won him this game. Or didn't win him this game, which is what I was afraid of. It was that performance that Monday night versus Cincinnati, which is Le'Veon Bell having one of his best games of the season. And that was it. His performance that night was able to put Devon above and ahead, give him that edge, and give him that victory. So a hard-fought victory, right? I did all I could. Marvin Jones got me 9 points. A.J. Green was not in the game. Subbed him out. Had Stephon Diggs in there, got nice little 3 points from him, right? But if we scroll down here, folks, and I gotta say, this is probably going to get a lot of people screaming at your screams, like, Alex Smith, 37 points, would have won me the game. A.J. Green, why do you take A.J. Green out? He gets volume. He's this. What can I say? It's huge panic mode for me. Thought he was going to lay an absolute dud versus Pittsburgh and their stouting defense. Divisional game. Andy Dalton and A.J. Green don't exactly perform well at home. And if you look at the numbers, they don't. Especially A.J. Green. And just in general, that their season had not been well. But regardless of all the stats that I'm naming, 19 points would have won me the game. Alfred Morris, why'd you sit him? I decided to go with him over Jamison Crowder. I wasn't going to play two people from that game. I went with Jamison Crowder. Alfred Morris getting 18 points. Carlos Hyde even putting in 6 points there. All right. Evan Ingram, 15 points. My go-to tight end. The person that I told myself as soon as I acquired him, there's no reason for me to put him in besides his bye week. Anybody else. But for whatever reason, I doubted him. Geno Smith playing that one game. I thought this was going to be one of the most upsetting performances in NFL history when they played with Geno Smith playing in Oakland that day. I thought he was going to throw for something like 11 yards or something insane like that. Don't even begin to question what was going through my mind. Everything wrong, with everything on the line, I made all the wrong choices yet again. Yet again. This is twice now in the past few weeks, I believe even the past 2 weeks, that I've made such devastating mistakes that they have cost me the season. And I say that very early on now because, yes, I'm not the person who ends up getting that last spot. I'm not. I won't reveal who did, or I think I already did, based on how I'm saying this. But in all honesty, folks, this was just a very hard pill to swallow, because I didn't know what I was doing that was so wrong at the time of making all of these decisions. They seemed so right. Jack Doyle at Jacksonville, yes, like I said, it seemed so right for me. But what ultimately ended up happening is I ended up overthinking things, and because of that, I am going to have to live with this. All right, that's all you can do. And so, yeah, I could have been probably one of the more high scoring. This could have been one of the more higher scoring games of this season for me. But instead, I overthought things, and I came up short here. There's nothing more to say. The Week 13 victory goes to DeBallas. They moved on to 7-7, or 7-6, I should say, and I dropped to 6-7 at the time. Now, this one wasn't very important. This was ESO Legends versus the Kid Guy. Next, we can scroll down, not spend a whole lot of time here. Adrian Peterson did not play in that game. He was out for that week. And performances wise, the Kid Guy next, his only purpose in existing as a league was to give Isaiah and Isaiah's team Antonio Brown. I'm convinced that's his only purpose, is to help another team. He's completely irrelevant to me. And it's sad to say that, because he is technically the first champion our league has ever seen. To see him fall so far is just beyond sad. But there's no comparison here. It's just he has a good team. He also Legends has a good team. Todd Gurley, Marquise Lee, Devin Funchess, Gronkowski. By the way, was suspended for last week. He's going to be back this week though. Week 15, that is, I'm talking about. And there's nothing really here. This was an absolute blowout. 105-55. Next matchup, right? So this matchup right here was the Suge Knights versus Supremacy. Supremacy was trying to fight for something. He was trying to fight to win, to keep the Suge Knights down. And, he had a pretty good performance from Kenyon Drake. I'm not going to lie. 20 points. And Dez Bryant. And at first it looked like that, maybe he's going to pull it out. But then we had the afternoon games roll in. And it just wasn't happening all right. Keenan Allen performing well. And also, the Rams defense came up performing really, really well for him. So after that, it was pretty much over. And the Suge Knights looking like almost a surefire thing. A lot of people, or me, a lot of people in our league I know are picking him to repeat this year. But you look at the bench points here, and, 44 bench points, 65 bench points. There was a lot left on the bench. Not much would have helped him. Kirk Cousins would have helped him. He should have had Jermaine Curson. That would have definitely helped. But he didn't, and he takes his L. This was also not really a playoff implication match, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here as well. And that's pretty much all to go over. Nobody that really stood out amazingly on these teams, besides Kenyon Drake. I will give you your credit there. And we have this team right here, which obviously the score of this breaks up any scenario of what I mentioned of one of these guys possibly making the playoffs. So Isaiah dropped down to 5-8. Fundraisers are now at 9-4. Winning this one pretty decisively, even with the help of Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. It was just too good of performances from Marshawn Lynch and Jamal Williams, Delaney Walker, just really performing where Matt Ryan, didn't. He just didn't. And you look down and there's a bench. There's not really, the benches were pretty even, 43-45 here, folks. And, this all but knocked out Isaiah's team from the playoffs. So the Fundraisers moves on from 9-4, or moves on to 9-4, I should say. Then we have our final matchup of Week 13, folks, which is a 91-88 victory. Never bowing down over the Murder Boners. Obviously, another scenario which is knocked out because the Murder Boners lost in Week 13. Never bowing down, winning, therefore making him and DeBall is the only fight for that Final Four seed. And we look down at this matchup here. There's really not much to go into. I mean, Alvin Kamara is going Alvin Kamara when he's on the field. I hope he's back for Week 15 for all you fantasy folks out there. And then there's just not much else to really go over. This was a loss. What I want to get into, folks, is the Week 14 matches that mattered. So here's the Week 14 matches, folks. Here is all the results on the top of the board. There's no reason to really go into anything. I'm not going to go into these because these are just... Some are blowouts, some are just sad, and, it's pretty decisive. It's pretty decisive. And we have this one right here. Never bowing down ends up losing to Supremacy right here. And that hurts. that really, really hurts because, we don't know who would have got that last spot in the end of the day. I don't know how they would have balanced things had him and DeBallas, who ended up just demolishing the absolute, my goodness, 135-94. But he moves on to 8-6, and he ends up retaining that 4 seed. He won the last 2 weeks, which is what I was talking about. You just gotta win. he did what he needed to do, and he secures that fourth and final spot. A little bit of interesting game right here, folks. As you guys can see, this was once a 10-4 matchup, which would determine actually quite a lot, because Dion is matched up now as the number 1 seed. He won this week, so that not only does he get the championship, title of winning the league title for the regular season, but now he has a matchup on a surprisingly hot Dabala's team, and we're gonna get to that in a little bit later. Supremacy ended up going 5-9, but he still finished 9th in the league behind the other 2 5-9 contestants, or one of the other 5-2 contestants, Isaiah. So Isaiah's team, who lost to the Murder Boners here in week 14, drops down to 5-9, and obviously the Murder Boners moves up to 6-8. We've got interesting scenarios here. So we know all who won. We see the playoff field is set. So let's go to week 15 now, folks, and see what week 15 brings us. So this is the playoff matchup. These are the ones that matter. This right side of the screen right here. We have this is the 1 seed right here, or the 2 seed playing the 3 seed right here, folks. This is ESO Legends versus the Fundraisers. Now this is a pretty intense matchup. We can go and look down here who the matchups have. Aaron Rodgers is returned. A bunch of I didn't do a waiver wire pickup this week because a lot of people have been inactive because half the league is out of it, basically. A lot of people don't want to contribute in the second half, or the week 15 and 16 parts if they're not in the actual playoff runs. But Aaron Rodgers was indeed picked up because he's off the IR. And ESO Legends, if you're willing to risk a playoff championship on starting an Aaron Rodgers just coming off IR at Carolina, and this is not even just for ESO Legends. This is for anybody doing this. If you're in the playoffs and you're doing this, I mean, I don't have a hat on, but I tip my hat to you. All right, because that is a huge risk. Huge risk. I know Aaron Rodgers is good, but come on. Are you going to risk him? Your playoff hopes, possibly, on that? I mean, the only way I would see this being a viable option is if he had an absolute stacked team, which he does not. He has a Todd Gurley, who is good. He has a Gronkowski, which is good, and a Goskowski, who is good. But other than that, that doesn't make him a stacked team. I mean, for God's sake, Todd Gurley plays at Seattle this week. Now, notably, Seattle is usually dominated and has been dominated in the past by the Rams. Well, I won't say dominated. The Rams usually beat them or fare well against Seattle in the past, as they have this season. But in all honesty, this is tough. I mean, Rob Gronkowski at Pitt. Your star players have tough matchups this week. And I don't know. I don't know if I like this, because you see Matt Ryan has Tampa Bay on the other side. That is just, talk about a bounce back. He scored, I think, a grand total of 14 points in the past 2 weeks. Goodness gracious. And he got DeAndre Hopkins at Jacksonville. That might be a little slow down. But this duo right here, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, that could be big. All right. And we got Alshon Jeffrey playing the New York Giants. Delaney Walker playing San Francisco. You got the Ravens defense playing Cleveland. I would get all that I can get. So honestly here, him having the choice between Andy Dalton and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, I'm going with Drew Brees at home. Yes, I know it's the Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara show in terms of fantasy, but goodness gracious, you've got to look at this at a bigger picture. You cannot possibly, unless he's a closet Green Bay fan, which ESO Legends, I haven't met you. I think you're the only person in this league who I have not personally met. Oh, you and Supremacy. But I honestly hope you know what you're doing. You're in this situation and I'm not. But honestly, this right here, Aaron Rodgers, is a huge risk. Could pay off, but if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would be very, very careful, very wary of this. But we have another matchup that's also important to talk about, and this is the one that I think is very important. This is the Ballers versus the Suge Knights. Now, this is the 1 seed versus, and here's the thing, Demaryius Thomas didn't perform that well. He put Demaryius Thomas versus in Indianapolis. He already played this past Thursday. The thing is here is Russell Wilson, Le'Veon Bell playing at home versus New England. Russell Wilson. He's going to have his Seattle players perform. Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, they're all going to have to perform. Jay Ajayi's at New York. He's got this kicker playing against Cleveland, although that could depend on how the Ravens offense feels that day. If they feel like they did this past week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, then that should be a lot of points for Justin Tucker. And I just feel like he has a bit of an advantage. The Suge Knights has Chase Keenum at Cincinnati, LaShawn McCoy at Miami. Those should be some good points. But then we have the big ones here, Melvin Gordon and Keenan Allen at Kansas City. How well are they going to perform? They are kind of on a hot run right now with Mr. Phillip Rivers rolling in pretty well. But, you got the other two players. He has he has basically this entire match for him is going to be decided in one game because he has 4 players playing in one game. And that is Melvin Gordon, Keenan Allen, and you see here Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt. If he doesn't get a huge total from these guys, like let's say, he needs to at minimum get more than 40 points from these. If he gets less than 40 points from any of these 4, then less of his 4, it doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form. One of them could have 35 points and the rest combined could have 5. All right, then he's in big trouble because these people are going to need to perform, and it's all going to be on this Saturday at 8:30, depending on when you're watching this. It could have already happened. It could have already been decided. But honestly, I like the Ballers in this situation, and I like him in this scenario. I really and honestly and truly do. And it's going to be interesting to see what this is. Just for purposes, out of respect, the other matchups are Ever Bowing Down and Isaiah's team, the 5th seed, taking on the 8th seed team. And then I am playing in the consolation bracket as the 7th seed against the 6th seed, the Murder Boners. So that is pretty much it, folks. That is it. Everything is wrapped up. I know some of you out there are going to be saying, hey, maybe, he didn't seem like too into it like he is in the past week. That's because I'm still hitting myself over the head over what happened, over how it transpired, over everything, reflecting on this season so I can do better next. But I'm still excited for the rest of the league. I'm excited to see who this year's champion is going to be. So with that being said, folks, let me know in the comment section if you're interested, who you think is going to be this year's champion, who you think is going to take it all. How is your league going? How are you faring so far? Are you still in the playoffs? How do you think you're going to do? I'd love to hear from you folks in the comment section down below. So with that being said, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch one of my videos. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new here and you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button and maybe click that subscribe button as well. And I will see you all in the next video. Until then, I'm DimitriusMac, and I am out. Peace.